we're open to questions from the audience.
Currently, I'm very much involved in what we call travel medicine. And one of the things we're doing is we're taking people that are not able to find answers here in the United States, and we're taking them to places where there are answers. And those answers have been restricted by the FDA because we're moving, let's say, for instance, stem cells, for example. You can't implant stem cells unless you're in some sort of clinical trial here in the United States. But you can in Germany, you can in China, you can in Japan. What areas here in the United States are as cutting edge as what they're doing, let's say, in the area of stem cells in Asia?
I was asking that question to Michael West yesterday, because Michael West is now, his corporation, Biotime, has formed an allegiance with a very prominent stem cell therapist who does, I think, autologous stem cell therapy. But they're going to start using his technologies in two main hospitals, one in Beijing and I'm not sure somewhere else. And this is so somebody like if you trust Michael West, I would say go where he's going for China, because there's probably a lot of places just there to make some money from you. That's the stem cell issue. And then in America, I think the best thing is to go to clinical trials on your website, to the National Institute of Health. Like right now, Cedars-Sinai has a very interesting stem cell therapy going on for cardiovascular disease, for heart. I think Steve knows about this, and he's going to talk about it later. Steve Cole, maybe you want to mention that.
If the audience is interested, I can show a video on DVD that I just picked up from the morning NBC News program about the Cedars-Sinai effort. Dr. Eduardo Marban, I think he was born in Cuba, but lived in this country all his life and became chairman of cardiology at Johns Hopkins University. A couple of years ago, he came here to Los Angeles to found the Heart Institute at Cedars, where he is director, and applied to the FDA for a phase 1 clinical trial admitting patients who have had an MI to see if adult stem cells derived from their own hearts would be able to repair the damage of the heart attack. And yeah, could we show that DVD? I know during the lunch hour we tested it out, and it does come up with the audio. So the animation here, this is a silent animation, shows a biopsy being done of the heart itself after threading this through a catheter, then placed in vitro into a petri dish for cell culture. And you can see two types of cells coming out. Some of them are called cardiomyocytes, and others are called cardiospheres. And the cardiospheres, when they come together, actually show contractility because they have synchronicity when they come together and begin beating like they were part of a real heart. And these yellow, the ones that just lit up, the cardiospheres, are the ones that now are to be returned in an autologous infusion into the heart, into, I guess, the coronary vessels. And it now has to cross through the membranes of the vessel into the heart muscle itself, and now differentiate into a cardiomyocyte that participates in the heart's natural beating. And yeah, you can see the contractions, and that's the place where there was originally the damage due to the MI, and scar tissue had formed. And this early phase of the phase 1 trial started in, I guess, July and August. And so far they've done 5 patients, and they have 5 more underway right now. And there were no side effects, because phase 1 has to do with safety. So they're not measuring efficacy yet. could we bring up the PowerPoint that goes with that? I don't have the clicker with me, but maybe you can go to the next slide. Yeah, Dr. Marban is an MD PhD who started in 2003 when he was still at Cedars-Sinai, at Johns Hopkins, looking at cardiac stem cells of all kinds, and this cardiosphere was a particularly well-differentiated adult stem cell in the heart. And so cardiosphere-derived cells, CDCs, are the ones that he wants to grow and expand. And he did a lot of research with the porcine's equivalent, that is with pigs or hogs, in order to establish the dosage. Next slide. So there's a routine, routine for cardiologists, percutaneous heart biopsy, where you insert through a vein into the vena cava, into the parts of the heart with this alligator clip-like biopsy instrument. And next slide shows the steps in taking that biopsy, putting the explant into a petri dish, then establishing the different types of stem cells that you want to extract based on the CD133 or 105 or 90 antigens that are on the cell surface. The next slide, I think, puts in the last step of the cardiospheres that are to be amplified and then reinfused back into the patient. So since it's an autologous transfer, it should not be rejected by the immune system. Next slide shows the steps, the dosage optimized in pigs, and this is the first time the FDA has approved an adult stem cell treatment anywhere in the country. I mean, there is a stem cell treatment using embryonic stem cells established by Geron in Menlo Park for spinal cord injury, but that has been temporarily put on hold while they investigate some, and I think it will continue in another 6 months.
I think didn't they sell off a portion of that to, I think, General Electric Healthcare? It sold off a portion of their properties. Are you aware of that?
No.
It was in the news not too long ago.
Next slide. And so they have this caduceus fancy acronym that somebody sat up all night thinking of, and cardiosphere-derived autologous stem cells to reverse ventricular dysfunction. Next slide. And, these are the steps involved, and it's a prospective randomized dose escalation study. Next slide. And then the next slide after this, because this repeats the animation. And here is the progress so far. 10 subjects enrolled to date. Biopsy performed safely in 5 of the patients. The infusion was done in 4 low-dose patients without any clinical side effects. All patients had normal angiographic flow, no increase in arrhythmias, and then they gave permission last September 16th to enroll a high-dose group so that they could get a dose-response curve when they're finished. I think that's the last slide here. And, well, this is a little bit of an advertisement for what Cedars-Sinai looks like in Los Angeles.